Let's zoom in. Cancel. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn on the College Tuition Scholarship Benefit. Um, we're gonna give a couple more minutes to allow people to log in, and then we'll get started. Thank you. Good afternoon. For those of you who are just logging in, thank you for attending today's webinar on the College Tuition Scholarship Benefit. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes. We'll probably start around 12:03 to give more attendees the opportunity to log on. Thank you. Okay, so once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Nicole Smoot. I am manager of tuition programs, and I am here today with my colleague Carla Rivera, Assistant Director of Tuition Programs, and we are going to present to you Lunch and Learn on the College Tuition Scholarship. I'd like to start off with a little bit of housekeeping. So like when you come in, kindly mute yourselves. There'll be opportunity once the presentation is done for Q&A and everyone can, ask questions. I know this is a popular question. It's oftentimes the number one question. So I'm going to tell you, yes, the deck will be distributed to everyone and the presentation is being recorded and we will post it on the HR YouTube page and links will be sent out. And with that, I think we can get started now. So the college tuition scholarship. Per the policy, the scholarship pays the lesser of 50% of the external institution's tuition or 50% of the current year's Columbia tuition rate. It pays 50% of undergraduate tuition at an accredited college or university outside of Columbia and Barnard. It also covers up to 8 semesters or equivalent numbers of trimesters or quarters. Summer terms require a student in good standing letter and do not count toward the 8-term limit. And lastly, grants, awards, and scholarships, which are tuition only or tuition specific, become part of the CTS benefit calculation. Thank you. So eligibility. Eligibility, requires the officer, requires the employee being a full-time regular salaried officer and have completed at least 4 years of continuous service with no breaks in service over 31 days. Officers or employees who are not eligible are visiting officers, postdoctoral research fellows, and postdoctoral clinical fellows. So, again, eligibility continued. The benefit applies to an eligible dependent child aged 26 or under at the start of matriculation. For officers hired on or before July 1st, 2011, with no breaks in service over 31 days, a dual CTS benefit may cover 100% of tuition for both parents, but that means both parents must have been hired, rehired, appointed, or promoted on or before July 1st, 2011. And yes, both parents must apply to receive 100% of tuition costs. For officers hired after July 11, 2011, only one CTS benefit per child is allowed. So that means no dual CTS for anyone hired after July 1st, 2011. And the officer must have the 4 years of continuous full-time service. So they must complete the 4-year waiting period requirement. How the benefit works. So the CTS benefit covers tuition costs only. It does not include, fees like health services, housing, labs, books and supplies, room and board, even if it's bundled with tuition. If your child receives grants or scholarships, the CTS benefit is capped at the remaining tuition balance. The benefit will never exceed either tuition owed or the CTS maximum, whichever is lower. Okay. So here's an example of how kind of the payment breaks down. So in example 1, well, let me first start by saying the CTS benefit is capped at the lesser of 50% of tuition or the remaining tuition after grants, scholarships, and awards. So in example 1, the tuition is $31,505. I'm sorry. 50% of that would be $15,752.50. So the lesser of the CTS amount, let's say the scholarships and grants equal 17,000. So let's see, the payment would be 14,505, which is the lesser amount owed. For example 2, tuition is 34,000. So if the student is getting 8,000 in non-CTS grants, awards, and/or scholarships, and they will receive the maximum of 17,000 CTS benefit to attend the college. Thank you. Okay. What is covered? So the benefit covers undergraduate degree programs only at accredited colleges and/or universities up to 8 terms or the equivalent number of trimesters or quarters. Please keep in mind, as I previously stated, summer terms are in addition to that. Okay. Eligible schools must be recognized by the U.S. Department of Education or an equivalent international accrediting body, because we verify that before paying out the benefit. The benefit pays the lesser of 50% of the external school's tuition or 50% of Columbia College's current year tuition rates. And now I'm going to turn it over to Carla, who's going to go over the new paperless project and demo the paperless application submission for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone, for attending. So in 2025, we had a new process improvement. The CTS application in Cubes is now a paperless. This was effective as of May. The paperless application submission is online via file feed. It's going to eliminate redundant school information. So when you complete the application now, it makes sure that you select all the boxes you need to select. It won't let you submit unless all the necessary information is selected. So that's one way of, eliminating missing information as well. Reduces missing information. And for us, we're excited because it also gives us the ability to provide better metrics reporting on all this data. So the new redesigned application format and online submission basically has 6 steps. I'll go over the 6 steps briefly in the next slide, and then I'll show you the application with the 6 steps. But basically, once you complete those 6 steps and you upload documents to EBPA, you're going to get a transaction confirmation number. You put that number or those numbers into the application and you submit, and everything goes straight to EBPA. The CTU 13-digit numerical code that you get once you upload documents, it basically helps identify, it matches your documents with your application. And I'm going to demo that so you'll see that in detail. So the CUBES test site. So these are the 6 steps for the new CTS paperless application. I'm gonna just go over them briefly because I want to spend the time showing you on the application how it actually is. But step 1 is completing eligible dependent and undergraduate school information. Basically, you select the dependent on the form, you put in all the required school information. Step 2 is itemized tuition bill, student account. You verify that all the data that's needed is on the itemized tuition bill student account, and then you confirm that it's all there. Step 3, you upload the required documentation to EBPA. So basically, some of the required documentation, you definitely need an itemized tuition bill student account. So that you're going to need regardless. Some applications require a grant, awards, and scholarship letter if your dependent has grants, awards, and scholarships. A student in good standing letter, that's necessary for summer terms. And if it's your first time submitting a CTS application, only for the first time, you must submit proof of relationship, like birth certificate, adoption paperwork, etc. Once your required documents have been uploaded, you go into step 4, which is entering the EBPA transaction confirmation number that you get right after you upload. Then step 5, you certify that all the information is accurate, and then you click on submit. And I'm going to show you how this is on the application. It's very, very simple. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I just have to find the thing in 1 second. I thought I had it open here. I'm going to stop sharing for a second to make sure I have it. Give me 1 second. Here it is. Okay, so everybody should see CUBES. I apologize for the delay there. So this is CUBES. Everyone should be familiar with CUBES. This is where you go as a new hire to elect your benefits. During the fall, this is where we go for open enrollment. So you should be familiar. So once you go into CUBES, see at the top right here, it says tuition. You just click on tuition. And then it takes you right to the tuition forms that you are eligible for. For today's presentation, we're going to do the college tuition scholarship. So this is, all the information is obviously a sample because we're just demonstrating, but this is exactly what the application would look like for you. The name, your name would be listed as the officer, your date of birth, your position, your employee ID. All this information is coming straight from CUBES. So if anything is incorrect, you can correct it in CUBES. At the top of the form, it describes the benefit, the college tuition scholarship. As Nicole stated, the program pays the lesser of 50% of the institution's undergraduate tuition or 50% of the current year's Columbia College undergraduate tuition for up to 8 semesters or the equivalent trimesters or quarter. We have some great links right here for the HR website, the CTS checklist, which I recommend everybody look at. Save, because it basically shows you step by step what to do as well. the CTS policy, which is what we always refer to, some popular FAQs that we are always updating, a letter in good standing, and a sample letter of grant award scholarships. These are the 6 steps I mentioned in the previous demonstrations, but we're going to go through them in the application. So you'll see step 1 is eligible dependent information and undergraduate school information. So this is where you would select the dependents. If you only have one, you're only going to have one to select. If you have multiple, basically it's one dependent per application. So you would have to submit one application per dependent. If you see that for any reason, one of your dependents is not listed and should be, we have instructions right here on how to add them. But just an FYI, when you do have to add them, it does take a couple of days to update it accordingly in cubes. So you'll have to come back within maybe 1 or 2 days, and then they should be you should be able to select them. This is your address information. Again, this is all coming from cubes. So if anything needs to be updated, you would just update it in cubes. This is, as Nicole mentioned, the dual officer. So if you qualify and you have a dual officer and you both qualify, this is where you would put the secondary officer, last name, first name, and uni. And when they submit, if applicable, they would have to do the same thing. So in the application, you do have to select. It's not going to let you submit if you don't select everything, which is great because it eliminates having missing information. So that's a great process improvement. For this one, we're going to select undergraduate. We're going to say that they're a freshman in, let's see, semesters, 2 terms. We're going to say that they're starting, this year in the fall. We're going to put my son's school. Let's see, Emerson College. This is just an example. Then we're going to go to step 2. This is when you look at your itemized tuition bill. And the good thing with schools these days, most of them email you the tuition bill, or you just download it from the portal. So just save that PDF and have it ready because it makes it that much more easier to get this done. But when you get that itemized tuition bill, just make sure that all this information is in there. Is the college, university name or logo in there? Check. Dependent's child's name, check. Itemized cost of tuition, fees are not covered, check. Semester, trimester, quarter, the student is attending. Most of them have it in there. The payment mailing address. If by any reason it doesn't have the payment mailing address, you just have to send a screenshot of where that is on the school website. If you are submitting like a grants, awards, and scholarship letter, if your child receives scholarships, grants, and/or awards, you can click yes. But in this instance, I'm going to put no. So this is where we go into the EBPA secure. We're going to upload the documents. In my scenario, I'm just going to upload the school invoice, the itemized bill. But if this is your first time, you have to, obviously, I said do proof, like a birth certificate or adoption paperwork. If you have like a grants and award scholarship letter, that's another item you have to upload. And by the way, every single upload is it's a separate upload, so you get a separate number for each. I'm going to show you. So we're going to click on the EBPA Secure Submission Portal here. Takes you right to it. This is where you would put your name, first and last name, your email address. Whatever email address you put here, is where you get the transaction confirmation number within seconds after submitting. You only have to do the ones that have the little asterisk, so I'm not even going to put my phone number. The employer name is Columbia University. And you have 2 ways. You can either drag your documents only one at a time in here, because you have to do it separately, or you can browse files. I click on this, and it'll take you right to it. So I have a sample university invoice here. And then I'm going to hit submit. And then you're going to get this transaction confirmation number. This is what you're also going to get via email within seconds. So if by any chance you close the screen by mistake, or you forget to copy it, you're gonna get the same thing by email within a second. So you go back to the application and you copy that. Now, this is the one I got just for my invoice. If you also have to upload your child's birth certificate, you do that right after. You're going to get another number. If you have to upload a copy of the grant and award scholarship letter, you hit plus again. But each one is basically a different number. And that's what these numbers match it to your application. But for my demonstration, we only have one here. Another thing we highly recommend is to register to track the status of your application. You can click on the link right there. This is a great way to track your application. You can tell when EBPA received it, you can tell when it's processing, and you can tell when the payment is sent. It may take up to 15 business days to complete, but you can also tell if it's pending for whatever reason. But just an FYI, usually when you register to track, you have to wait until 1 or 2 days after you submit the application to go ahead and register to track. But I recommend that everybody do that because then every semester, you can track it and you don't have to sign up again. So remember when I mentioned you have to basically select each category or else it's not going to let you submit? This is step 5 where you have to certify, but I'm intentionally not going to click it because it should prompt me to go ahead and submit it. To go ahead and select it before submitting. So step 6, you have the option of saving the application to PDF, just if you want to keep a copy. But I'm going to click submit. Now it shouldn't let me submit because I haven't clicked this. It would be the same way if I forgot to enter the year, the semester, and any of that. For this example, I'm just going to forget this. Submit. See how it highlights in red? But I have to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I certify that all the information on this form is true and accurate. And now it should let me submit. So easy peasy. Let's see. Go back to the presentation. Okay, so in the presentation, which you're all going to get as well within a couple of days, we also have a copy, like a sample CTS paperless application, which I just went over. It has all the steps selected. You can see step 1 here. Step 2, I put a nice little arrow so you can see them. Step 3, step 4, it goes over everything. A copy. This is the EBPA secure submission portal. A copy of the screen you get with the CTU, but you also get an email, as I mentioned. And this is where you enter, that transaction confirmation number and then hit submit. This is the register to track the status of application, which we also highly recommend everybody do. It just makes it that much easier, for the next 4 years when you're tracking these applications. So just some important dates to keep in mind. July 1 is when the CTS applications may be submitted to EBPA for the fall 2025 term semester. If by any chance you have you're with a school that requires payment on July 1 or before, you can reach out to us. We'll try to make accommodations to meet that before. But basically, as soon as you receive your itemized tuition bill for the fall 2025 term, submit it on July 1 or after, so it can go straight to EBPA and they can begin processing it. So just some resources. I showed you guys how you would go into CUBES first. And everybody hopefully knows where CUBES is. And then right at the top of CUBES, it has the tuition link at the top there. And then these are just some sample applications that populate in CUBES depending on your eligibility. And if by any chance you feel you should be eligible something that's not populating there, just reach out to us and let us know. We'll definitely look into it. This is just a link to the tuition programs website. We update the website very frequently. So I always suggest to go in there and take a look at the policies, the checklist. We have a copy of the student in good standing sample letter. This is just a copy. It's also on the website. If your dependent is taking summer terms, this is a requirement that must be submitted, and this is just a sample to provide to the school to get if needed. Likewise, if your dependent has grants, awards, and or scholarships, this is just like a sample letter to the school template to provide. Some great resources, the website for tuition programs, the CTS policy, the checklist, the letters I just showed, and the FAQs, which we are always updating. And this is our contact information. We're always here for you. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to the service center. They forward all the emails to us, all the phone calls. This is the phone number, the email. And I want to thank everybody for attending, and I wanted to open it up for questions now if there's any questions.
Thanks, Carla. I'm sorry, there is a question in the chat. Says, hello, my child will be a college freshman this fall. They receive a grant which covers more than half of the $70,000 tuition, which I'm assuming is the annual rate. However, the school said they would provide a letter that their grants applies to both housing and tuition. Since they will cover housing with their grant, can we still receive the full Columbia benefit of $35K? Well, again, please keep in mind that the CTS benefit is applied per term. So when you say 70,000 a year, roughly, that comes out to be 35,000 a semester. Now, per the benefit, it pays up to 50% of the tuition cost. So if it's 35, I believe half of that is like 17,500. And again, that would be also capped at Columbia University's rate. So as the policy states, you would need to submit the itemized tuition bill so we can see what the tuition charges are, the scholarship and grants letter, and based on your question, it seems like you're already on top of that. And then EBPA will base their calculation on that. So if the scholarship is applied to all charges, then no, it doesn't really factor in. But again, it's never going to pay more than the employee's tuition liability, what you owe to cover the tuition only costs for that semester. So I hope I've answered your questions, Rachel. And again, everyone, please free to unmute and ask your questions. There's one more question in the chat. Patrice came alone. Can you please share what the current Columbia tuition rate is? Okay, so the Board of Trustees at Columbia has not decided that and hasn't publicized that. That normally gets publicized in July, and you can find out that information by logging on to the Student Financial Services website where they post all of the current tuition rates for the academic years. So
I
again,
will,
you'll have to wait a couple of weeks for that. I'm
yeah, I
sorry,
will add
Carla.
that. Oh, no, I just wanted to add that right now the cap is 17,000 per semester. But hopefully after the Board of Trustees meeting, that will increase slightly for the next semester. But right now it's 17,000 cap.
Okay. I'm sorry, Milton, I see that you messaged earlier. I'm assuming you had trouble seeing the screen. I did try to make that larger. I don't know, but then it distorted the image. I'm sorry about that, but as I've stated, the deck and the presentation will be passed out, so you can always review it at your leisure. And if you have any other questions, feel free to ask us. Does anyone else want to either put a question in the chat or unmute and ask their question? Okay, there's an
Can I add on to the question about the tuition? I just want to confirm, this is Patrice.
Yes.
So what I'm wondering is just, so it sounds like with the current tuition, it is 34,000 a semester at Columbia. So if your child was going to school somewhere else this past semester, that means that Columbia would pay up to 17,000 per semester.
Correct.
And if your child's and so that means if the child's school, let's say it was 40,000, then Columbia would pay half of that. They wouldn't give you the half of the Columbia's tuition. Is that
I'm
right?
sorry, 40,000 a semester or the years? Which would,
So, sorry. So my example is simply that Columbia's tuition is 34,000 a semester.
mhm,
If your child was going to a school that was 20,000
right,
per semester, Columbia would pay the lesser of the two. So that would mean,
right,
is that correct? Okay, thank you.
right, yeah. You're welcome. Victoria, you asked a question. So Columbia pays the colleges directly or we get reimbursed? It pays the colleges directly, and just FYI, all of our tuition benefits pay the school directly. It's not a reimbursement. We send the payment once it's calculated directly to the school. It's never sent to the employee. Oh, any other questions? Again, you can unmute. Okay, there's
May
another one.
I
And yes.
may I ask you a question? Thank you for that. Quickly, may I ask the tax implication of receiving this scholarship?
Okay, so per the IRS, there is no tax implication for any benefit or that's applied to undergraduate tuition education. So no, there's no tax liability.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Milton, I do see your question about CU tuition and fees. I saw that being okay, 71,170. I did see that on the financial aid site. They have started to kind of put that in for incoming students and returning students to plan out their expenses. However, when I go to the SFS webpage, the tuition and fees page, I don't see them listing the upcoming rates for the academic year. So I'm gonna say that's tentative right now. It normally does align once the Board of Trustees releases that, but we don't feel confident in giving out that number yet until it's been officially published on the SFS site because they're getting their information directly from the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, this is Michael Tiebert, the Executive Director of Tuition Programs. The Board of Trustees has to vote on the rate increase for Columbia College, and it has to be published before we are able to provide it to EBPA. And we fully expect, as in prior years, that it will be voted on before July 1st. If it's not, then we'll use last year's numbers. And once it's voted on, we'll do a true up for all payments that are processed after. But it generally does not happen.
Hi, thank you so much. This is Milton following up. So the 34,000 that we've been using in this whole presentation is sort of like a number for the time being, but whatever
Right.
Columbia will give as what is the pool for Columbia, half of that would be what will be used for outside of Columbia, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Right,
thank
but
you.
let's also make sure that you understand the caveat that, this is a tuition-based program based on the college tuition scholarship policy. It's all about tuition. So if your child has grant scholarships and awards that are applied directly to tuition, that will impact the calculations.
No, of course,
just
Michael. I
want to
was
be
just trying to
clear.
figure out, I just wanted to figure out what's the base number that we're talking about when we say half. I totally understand that after that
Okay.
half, there will be
All right.
other subtractions according to each individual and what they get. But
Yep.
we
Okay.
all will get half of what Columbia would get. So I think we're clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I don't want to mince words here, but when officers use the phrase, we're going to get, so you are eligible for up to, right? EBPA is responsible for the calculation based on the documentation that's submitted.
Okay, let me see. Does anyone else, well, Milton, I hope we've answered your question. Does anyone else have any other questions? Again, feel free to unmute.
I just want to thank Carla and Nicole for a great presentation, great demonstration based on the new paperless process. That was excellent. And of course, presenting the policy related provisions was really well done. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to stay on a little while longer. It doesn't seem like we have too many questions, but again, to reassure everyone, the deck and the recording will be will be going out, so you will have that as a resource. If you're, still looking at Carla's screen, our email address is there, hrbenefits@columbia.edu. Feel free to ask us any questions you may have about this process, about the benefit, about your eligibility, and so forth. But if we've answered everything, you feel comfortable, feel free to log off, and I can hang out maybe another 10 minutes because we do have more time. This was supposed to go to 1 o'clock. I can hang out and answer, excuse me, any questions that might be anyone might have. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. We have 15 attendees. I see one hand raised. Oh, I'm sorry. Laura
Yeah.
Yasa. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to, and if other people have questions, but just to clarify, so I used the benefit this year, and it was wonderful, and thank you very much.
Sure.
The university that my daughter attends bills annually, and I just want to confirm again. So they say they bill in September for the full year, and then we divided that by semesters, but the payment schedule sort of didn't align. And so my understanding is we don't have to wait until January to submit for the second semester. We could submit earlier than that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we do have employees that start submitting like in December. I don't think you could submit much earlier than that.
Yeah, so I have
But
a question. So let me just jump in here. So is this an international school?
It is, yeah.
It is. Okay. So do they require the child and or parents to make full payment at the beginning of the year?
No, but they have payment plans that are not in 2 payments. You know what I mean? So they have like 3 payments. Like it doesn't really match the US system.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Is it billed like, is this a quarter school or trimester?
It's a semester school, so it is 2 semesters.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So if they don't require full payment up front, which some international schools do, I mean, is there also a currency exchange involved?
Yes.
Okay. So my good guidance would be this, is that EBPA is, fully versed, as you know, with currency exchanges, but they do fluctuate. So for each semester, you're going to have to submit an application, right? Right, for each semester. You just can't do one and done, because we have to report it, and that's part of our compliant administration. If the currency fluctuates greatly, right? We're going to use EBPA will want to use the date of the currency that's on the one bill you get, right? That's what you're saying. You get one bill and not one bill each semester. I just want to be clear.
I think this year we got one bill, we submitted it, and requested payment of half, right, for the first semester. And then we we asked the university to provide like a balance due for the second semester.
And EBPA accepted it?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, and that worked for you? I mean, as far as you didn't experience any currency fluctuation that was adverse to you?
No, it's just a
Alright.
matter of like best practices, just trying to understand, because I was a little thrown off this year trying to navigate it all with, again, their payment schedules and then ours not
Right.
aligning.
So if I can jump in, our processing time, or EBPA's processing time, is 15 business days. So if the payment deadline is due, the second payment, let's say, is due, well, figure out when that payment is due and kind of calculate 15 business days ahead to give EBPA enough time to process it and get it to the university in a timely manner so the payments align.
Okay.
I would recommend that.
Okay.
So 15 business days, about 3 weeks.
Yeah, but also understand, to just add to what Nicole is saying, that if you resubmit, if you submit the second, the second term, they're going to use the date for the currency exchange, right? And to my earlier statement or my question,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
that
so
didn't
it's
adversely
submitted.
impact you. So
Yeah, because they're
sounds
doing
like you're
the
good.
currency, the university is not calculating the currency exchange when they're submitting the invoice. They're submitting it in euros, right? And then we're doing the currency on our end, right? So it's happening. It fluctuates only in the sense that the currency exchange fluctuates, and then EPBA, my guess is they're using the current exchange just when they process the payments on their schedule.
They're using the currency on the date of the bill to calculate, right? That is not necessarily the date of the currency. That's not necessarily going to be the currency exchange when the school deposits it, right? So that's what I was asking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess we don't know on our end, right? We're just billed
Yeah.
the difference. And
Yeah.
I guess, right. Okay.
You won't know until they deposit it. And if it's a huge fluctuation, you should let us know and we'll do a true up. Because that has occurred, right?
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that, and you just have to provide us documentation of the date they deposited it. I mean, we can get it from the deposited bill. I mean, from the deposited check, but it that takes a little time for EBPA to pull up, for all those documents to be registered. So just know that that's available.
Yeah.
You
And
don't
it's
get
helpful to
currency
know,
today.
especially with what's happening lately with the economy.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks. Okay, great.
This is Patrice again.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, and I know that you all explained this more than once, but I just want to make sure I understand when it comes to how your eligibility or the funds that your child might receive, and scholarships. So I'm sorry, I always have to use an example. So I'm going to go back to an example of if the tuition were, let's say, $40,000 a semester, and your child received a scholarship of $10,000 to go towards that tuition, and there's $30,000 then left that semester, then would we then be eligible for $15,000 that semester? Is that how that would work?
Yes, because
Scholarship is taken into consideration.
I'm sorry, say again.
Since the scholarship would be taken in, basically the scholarship would be taken into consideration. And so your tuition for that semester would be minus the scholarship. And then Columbia would pay half of that difference. Is that correct? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, so the tuition is 40,000 a semester.
Correct.
They're getting 10,000 in tuition only grants,
Correct.
scholarships, and awards.
Correct.
Okay.
So remember, we have to take into consideration, Nicole, the annually defined limit, right? So
I know,
we can only pay up to the annually defined.
which would be 17,000, yeah, at the current rate, yeah.
Yeah,
Correct. Correct.
yeah. So it wouldn't be 20,000 because the annually defined limit is based on the Columbia College tuition, which is going to be less than that,
Of course,
right?
yes,
So the calculation begins at the annually defined limit per term.
right. Of
Which
So-
would
course,
be the maximum, but she's trying to figure out what the payment would be. It would be no more than 17,000.
Correct.
Going by your example, because you're in your calculation, you're deducting the $10,000 right off top, reducing the tuition down to 30, and you want to know if you're going to get 15,000.
correct.
You should
Is
get the
that how-
17,000, the 17.
17.
So, yeah.
That's what I'm, okay, so it's actually whatever is greater instead of what's lesser.
No.
Is that correct?
So
It's
it's not gonna be
lesser of.
more than 17, but it's the
Right.
40 minus 10, yeah, which is 30, but 30 is more than 17, so it's gonna be the 17.
No, I guess what I was saying is there would be 30,000 less left. And so then would Columbia pay 15 or pay 17?
So my suggestion is we're happy to kind of do a back of the envelope on this. Send us an email and we are happy to work with EBPA to kind of
So this is not my child's situation, but she is applying to scholarships, and I just want to personally know if essentially the scholarships are going to reduce my Columbia benefit. That's all I'm trying to figure out.
It is
So that's why it's important, yeah, that's why it's important, I put it on the screen to get a copy of the grants and award scholarships, because sometimes the scholarships can be applied to, everything on the bill, including housing, and we won't take those into consideration. But if the school labels it as tuition only scholarships, then, those are the ones we take into consideration when we do when EBPA does the calculating. So that's why I put this letter on the screen. It's important, if he or she does get the scholarships, grants and awards, just to get the school to fill out one of these letters for you, and then you can submit it with your documentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I think it's very important for all of us to just understand that, there are going to be some schools that are going to be whose cost of tuition are going to be greater than Columbia College, which is what we use as the annually defined limit. So if that's the case, the annually defined limit per term is where we start. We don't start at the school that is charging greater. We start at the annually defined limit. That's what the policy says, and our compliant administration calculation is based on that.
okay. Let's see. Does anyone else have any questions? I don't see any more in the Q&A. Well, if that is all, I guess we can wrap things up a little bit earlier. Again, if there are questions once we end, you can email us at hrbenefits@columbia.edu, and we'll be happy to assist you. And again, Patrice, as Michael stated, yeah, just shoot us the email at hrbenefits@columbia.edu, and we'll try to figure out.
Yeah,
Wait.
we're happy to.
Yeah.
We're happy to assist.
Okay, if that's all, just wish everyone a good rest of the day. Enjoy tomorrow off if you have off. I believe the university is closed. And thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.